There are certain warnings passed down through generations, whispers of caution that many dismiss as old wives' tales. Don't walk under ladders, they say. Never open an umbrella indoors. But some warnings carry a heavier truth, a darker consequence for those who ignore them. Ilara was about to learn this firsthand. The warnings she'd forgotten? Never buy antiques from strangers, especially not one that seems to call to you. Ilara loved the forgotten, the items with a history etched into their surfaces. Saturdays were for treasure hunting, for sifting through the relics of lives long past. This particular Saturday led her to a pop-up market, a chaotic collection of stalls manned by vendors whose eyes held stories of their own. Tucked away in the furthest corner, almost hidden by a threadbare tapestry, was a stall she'd never seen before. The vendor was an old woman, her face a roadmap of wrinkles, her eyes like polished jet, reflecting no light. She didn't speak, merely gestured with a bony finger towards a small, unassuming object on a velvet cushion. A music box. It wasn't particularly ornate, made of dark, aged wood, with faded, almost indistinguishable carvings. Yet, Ilara felt an inexplicable pull, a magnetic allure she couldn't resist. How much? Ilara asked, her voice barely a whisper. The old woman simply smiled, a slow, unsettling stretching of thin lips, and named a price far too low for any antique, let alone one that felt so significant. Against her better judgment, the money exchanged hands. The music box was hers. As Ilara turned to leave, she thought she heard the old woman whisper, "It chooses its listeners." But when she looked back, the stall and the woman were gone, vanished. Back in her cozy, sunlit apartment, the music box seemed less menacing, more like a quaint curiosity. Ilara placed it on her bedside table, admiring the dark wood against her cheerful decor. That night, she wound the tiny crank. A melody tinkled out, delicate, melancholic, yet with an undercurrent she couldn't quite place. It was beautiful, in a haunting sort of way. She fell asleep to its fading notes. The first strange occurrence happened around 3 a.m. Ilara was jolted awake by a sound. The music box was playing. By itself, the same melancholic tune, but this time it sounded different, slower, sadder, almost like a lament. She stared at it, her heart pounding. The crank wasn't turning, yet the music played on. Sleep offered no escape. Her dreams were filled with shadowy figures, whispering voices she couldn't understand, and the recurring image of the old woman's unsettling smile. She'd wake up in a cold sweat, the phantom notes of the music box echoing in her ears, even when it was silent. The apartment, once her sanctuary, began to feel oppressive. The days that followed were a blur of unease. Objects in her apartment would move slightly from where she'd left them. A book askew, a cup closer to the edge of a table. She'd catch fleeting shadows in the corner of her eye, hear faint creaks and whispers when she was alone. And always, at random, unpredictable moments, the music box would play its sorrowful tune, a constant, unnerving reminder of its presence. One evening, while the music box played its ghostly melody, Ilara noticed something new. The faded carvings on its surface seemed clearer, more defined. She leaned in, her breath catching in her throat. They weren't floral patterns. They were tiny, contorted faces, their mouths open in silent screams, their eyes wide with an ancient terror. Panic seized her. This wasn't just an antique. It was something malevolent. She grabbed the music box, intending to throw it out, to smash it, anything to be rid of it. But as her fingers closed around the cold wood, an icy chill shot up her arm, and a wave of profound despair washed over her. A voice, not her own, whispered in her mind, "You can't. We are now part of your song." She tried. Oh, how she tried. She threw it in the dumpster behind her building, only to find it back on her bedside table the next morning, music playing softly as if to greet her. She buried it in a local park, deep beneath the roots of an old oak tree. The following day, it sat on her kitchen counter, caked in fresh soil. The music box was a part of her now, its melody the soundtrack to her growing dread. Her friends noticed the change in her, the dark circles under her eyes, the way she'd jump at sudden noises, her vacant stares. But how could she explain that she was being haunted by a cursed antique she'd bought from a phantom vendor? Desperate, Ilara researched cursed objects, ancient rituals, anything that might offer a solution. She found obscure forums filled with similar tales of woe, of objects tethered to unfortunate souls. One recurring theme was that such items fed on emotion, on fear, on despair, and the music box seemed to thrive in her apartment, its tune growing stronger, more confident as Ilara's hope dwindled. One night, the music played louder than ever before, a frantic, almost violent rendition of its usual tune. The air in Ilara's bedroom grew frigid. Shadows danced in the corners of her room, coalescing, taking on vague, human-like forms. They swayed to the music, their unseen eyes fixed on her. The carved faces on the box seemed to writhe. Ilara knew then that the music box wasn't just haunted. It was a conduit, a doorway, and something was trying to cross over, drawn by her fear, invited by the melody. She could feel a presence in the room, cold and ancient, pressing down on her, whispering promises of eternal companionship in the darkness. What happened next, Ilara could never fully recall. Only fragments, a desperate scream, the shattering of glass, a blinding light, then silence. When she dared to open her eyes, her apartment was a wreck. Furniture overturned, her window shattered, but the music box was gone. Vanished, as completely as the old woman at the market. Ilara moved out the next day. She left most of her belongings behind, unable to shake the feeling that they too were tainted. She never visited an antique shop again. The silence in her new, sparse apartment was deafening at first, but gradually it became a comfort. Yet sometimes, in the dead of night, when the world is quiet, she thinks she can hear it, a faint, melancholic melody carried on the wind. A reminder. So, the next time you find yourself drawn to a forgotten trinket, a relic from an unknown past, remember Ilara's story. Remember the allure of the music box and the price she paid. Because some antiques are best left untouched, their histories buried, and you should never, ever buy antiques from strangers, especially when they seem to know more about you than you know about them. The melody might be beautiful, but the silence that follows could be eternal.